welcome to my channel Summary AI, and this class we are going to see more into class variables. So last class what we have seen, we have created a class, we have defined or we have initialized the class by declaring some variables inside it, and then finally created an instance of my class and given those parameters for my arguments, right? And I was able to make a different method where I'm able to print the complete details of the cars, right? So we have seen this already, and these are nothing but my instance variable, right? I have created an instance of car1, car2 from my actual class and given these variables. So we have understood this much. Now let's say this is pretty much related to one particular instance. Let's say if I have to make something very genuine, very generic, which is common for both my cars, or let's say I have a list of cars brands, right? It is common for all those car brands. So let's take an example. So every car should be compliant to the country standards and everything, right? So let's say we have a class variable which is not written inside any particular method or any particular instance. It is there for the complete class. Okay. So to write any class variable, you have to just come, under the class, not under the any methods, just under the class and provide, let's say, create another variable called country standards, okay, or country standard. And let's say I'm making this as a list of countries. So let's say this cards that I'm going to talk about, or this class under this cards, right, is actually standard for India, and let's say other country, let's say China. So now anything under this car class, right? Anything that I'm talking about here, let's say is compliant for these two country standards. And I'm just giving here this standard here. So this is applicable for all. Now let's print, let's see this, right? So let's print. Now I can write directly country dot standard and try to print this. Okay, it's showing me some error here, right? It is not defined. It's saying country standard is not defined, but we have defined. Why we are getting this error, right? So why we are getting, because we cannot simply use any variable if it is under the class, right? We have to use the class name to actually use it, right? Like here we are using car1, an instance of the class, to actually reach to the full description, this method, and then print out whatever is inside returning. Correct. So simply just call the class. So here, sorry, the class name is car dot country standard. Now I'm able to pick it, right? So let's say what happens if I print this. So when I'm printing this, you can see it is giving me India and China, right? It is giving me India and China because country standard for all the classes here, sorry, or for all the cars here is actually common, which is India and China. We can try one more thing. We can, let me, we can, we can try for all the instance, because this is common for every instance. So technically they should be good for car 1 and car 2. So let me just go with car 1 here and car 2 here. Let me just, um, comment this out. Yeah, now I'm running this one, and if you see, for car.country standard, I'm getting India, China, and similarly for car 1 and car 2 also we are getting the same thing. So what does this mean? This means if I define anything, any variable under the class, right? So this is basically a class variable. Let me just write it out. This is a class variable which is common to every instance of the class, because it is just a format, right? It is a template which I'm going to use for every instance. Correct. So this is my class variable, and this is nothing but my instance variable. Understand this difference there. This is very important. Instance variable, right? Now you've seen here that, okay, once I declare this, I can use this for every instance of my class. Now let's say this list is very huge. Let's say, or for this particular car one, right? This particular car one, the Volkswagen Polo, right? It is not as per the China standard. It is good for Indian standard. It is not good for China standard. So in that case, what else we can do is like we can define for that particular instance, we can define this variable alone. So what we can do to define that, we can use this car1 instance, okay, and then provide country standard and provide the value. So let's say this car1, right? Car1 is good for India. It follows the Indian standard and also follows the Pakistan standard. Okay, it is good for Indian and Pakistan standard both. Let's say what will happen if I print this now? Will it impact my actual class variables, or will it only impact the the car1 variables, or car1 only it will affect? Let's print it out, and if you see, my actual class has not changed, only the car1 instance here, right? The car1 instance is only impacted with this change, because I have especially mentioned that okay, only I want this car1 instance alone, I want to make this change, and this is not a change for my entire class or any other cars, right? So this is especially for car1. That's why you can see the change. You can see here it's saying India and Pakistan, and for car 2 also it is again India and China. So you can define something under your class variables, you can use it, or you can, if you leave it, if you don't define under your instance, it will be common for all. But if you want to define something, you can still do it by defining it as a, again, the instance variable, right? And when this will be useful, guys, let's say some brand, some brand, let's say it's making their cars. Generally what they do, when they make, they generally follow some norms. So it is not only for standard for only one country, it is standard for multiple countries, right? Let's say Ford makes his vehicles, right? So it follows some guidelines. So it is also a standard for India, it is also a standard for China, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. So it can actually create similar car and distribute among all the regions, right? So in that case, let's say I have a huge list of countries here, and one particular car of, let's say, one particular car where my country region standards are not meeting. So this way I can simply, just one line, which is common for every car, this list can grow. So like one particular model or one particular brand only have, let's say, 10 models, right? For 10 models, I don't need to rewrite this. I can simply define under the class and I can still use it. If it is not common for every car, it is good to have in the instance variables, right? Like every car model, right? Every color, every price, and everything will be, um, needs to be declared under the instance. Okay, another example what we can take here, let's say uh, a particular brand here, right? Let's say they every year they increase their price by, let's say, 2%, right? And that is pretty much a standard for them. And others, let's say some other brand increase by 3%. So if I have a group of brands which I know that they increase every year by 2% and 3%, I can still create it, right? And I will be able to make something out of it, that okay, if every year this is going to be the price, the next year this is going to be price. So I can also do the calculation. This is just simply I was able to use this to print something, correct? So I can also do the calculations if I put something under the class variables. That way also I can use. Uh, let's say there is another class variable which is price change. Okay, so price change, let's say every day the standard price change is 5%. So 1.05. So I'm saying 5%, right? It's like 105, right? So 100 will change to 105. So price change is by 105%, and let's define another method, and let's call this define um, increased price. Okay, increased price, self. Okay, self. Okay, and now what we have to do here, we have to figure out what is my increased price, right? So let's say new price, new price is equal to uh, my price into this, right? My price into this. So price into price change, price change, right? This price change, correct? Now, if you see, I'm getting here some errors, right? This thing is not able to figure out where is the price and where is the price change. So put self dot price, and here also you can go with self dot price, but I have a habit of going with the class name itself. So I'll just go with car dot price change. Okay. And now we have to simply return this. So return new price. Okay, return new price. Now we have this increase price method also defined, and this will figure out what is the price for the next year. Correct. So now let's say let's print this out. Let's see if it works. So print car1 dot, what is our method name? Increased price. Okay, increased price. This is a method. So car1 dot increase price. Okay, why I'm getting here? Car1 is not defined. Okay, sorry, I have to put it after this. Yeah, I have to put it after the declaration, right? Okay, now it should be fine. Now let's run this. Let's see. So cell.price can't multiply sequence by non-int of type float to what it is saying. So now they is saying it's not able to multiply with this as a float because the other value is integer. Okay. Okay. So why I'm getting this? If you notice here, this is given in a form of a string. That is a mistake. I should never give a number in string until unless I really want to use it as a string only, right? So now if I make this correction, if I run this, this should work, and I'm getting 5250 is my next year price, or the increased price will be 5250, right? And this is for this only the car one, right? Let's say if I do it for the car 2, I'll get my correct answer. For car 2, the price is different, right? So let's run this, and for car 2, okay, sorry, I'm just define this again, just hold on. I have to do this for car 2. Okay, now I should be able to check what is the price will be next year for the car 2. So now you can see this is changed for 5% for each car, right? So let's say if I want to do 5% standard for one car, sorry, for all the cars, and for one particular car, for car one, let's say for car one, describe I want to describe this as a 2%. Okay, so simple thing that we have already seen, that what we can do, we can describe it here. Let's say car1 dot what is the name which I use for this variable? Price change. Price, let's go change is equal to 1.02, and now it should price change, right? Car1 is not defined. Let me put it here. Okay, if I run this one now, so I was getting 5250 and 4200, correct? Now I have changed car1 price change. The car1 price change percentage is only 2% now. Now it should reflect 2% here and 5% here. Let's run this. Okay, so it should return 2% or 5%. Okay, so what went wrong here, right? We have given the car1 price change to 2%, but it is still reflecting 5%, right? Because 5,250 rupees extra is 5%, right? So what is the reason behind this? Okay, so if you remember here, this is using, or we have defined this method which is doing the calculation, right? This new price calculation is done by this method. If you remember here, I have used my price change variable, right? I have used for from the class itself, right? From the class itself. So if that is the case, let's say for every instance, if I have something which is differing, right, I can simply use self here, right? If I use self, then in that case, what happen? It will take the changes from the instance itself. It will be not dependent on the class now. So this change, right? If the instance doesn't have any specific value, then it will take the class variable. If it has any particular value, then it will go for the particular instance and then ask, okay, if you have a value, then set me that value, right? If it doesn't have, then it will depend on the class, like every other, card that we have seen. Now if I run this, let me run this. Okay, yeah, okay. So now if you see, it is reflecting correct, right? 5100 and 4200. So 5% change here and the, sorry, 2% change here and the 5% change here, right? So I hope this make some difference in understanding between what is a class variables and what is the instance variable and how you can use it, where you can define and you can use in different methods, right? This will help. Thank you. If you have learned something from the class, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and hit on the bell notification. So next time when I upload a video, you'll get notified. Thanks for watching.